Hello folks and welcome. So MX Linux, MX23 Xfce desktop, that's what this video is about. This is generally made for new users. Certainly anyone is welcome to watch if they want to learn how to install printer drivers. So in this video I'm going to be discussing installing a printer driver. I'll do that from scratch and talk about what kind of Linux drivers, because on a lot of websites there's two different kinds, and just giving you a general overview of the printer configuration tool, and also discuss some of the important topics to look for. And then I'll also discuss what I use for printers, which I have been using for many years, and the reasons why. So I'll say welcome folks. So MX Linux is very popular out there, and I'm going to be talking about, again, installing printers. Now this is being filmed in 1920 by 1080, so you can adjust your YouTube player accordingly. So I'm going to close this window and go over and open up the MX printer tool. So you can just put in PRI, as in for like printer, and you can open up the printer settings tool here. Or you can click the wrench symbol, which is the settings manager, and open up the settings manager and go to the hardware section, and somewhere on the second line should be your printer settings. It looks like this. So let me close the primary box and I will slightly enlarge this. Alright, so I have two printers installed here. I have a Brother HL3170 CDW. It's a color laser printer and it's networked. The other printer next to it is a QL570. It is also a Brother printer. I have another Brother printer which is not online. You may be picking up on the hint that I have Brother printers, yes. So I'm going to be talking about this tool here, and I'll give you my Brother spiel. So this particular tool is your system config printer. That's the version number there. It's a cups configuration tool. So you're probably going, as a new user, you're going cups of tea, cups of coffee. No, actually it stands for Common Unix Printer System. Linux is a Unix-like system. So is Mac. Microsoft not so much. But anyways, we're going to be talking about printer stuff. So in this video, I'm going to talk about actually installing that QL570 completely from scratch, using a driver that comes from Brother. So you'll get that experience. More importantly, I'm going to talk about the differences between some of the driver files and what to look for. All right. There's lots of printers in the world, folks. A lot of them are not Linux friendly either. What I mean by that, it's unfortunate that some of the developers of those printers don't see Linux as a, how do I put this, something to create drivers for. That's unfortunate and short-sighted on their part. So they make drivers for Windows and Macs. Alright, Brother on the other hand does make Linux drivers. So why do I use Brother printers? I use Brother printers because they work, and they work. So this is a network printer. I didn't do anything. All I did was turn on MX23. It found it on my network. The nice thing about this particular laser printer is it not only prints on any Linux distribution I have, it also prints on Microsoft Windows and Macs. And one more thing, it also prints with iPhones. So I can be on my comfy couch hitting print. If I'm looking at something, I want to print something on my iPhone. It sends it over to the network printer. Alright, this QL570 is a dedicated label printer hooked up to a USB cable. Okay, so I'm going to open up the settings just to let you see it. It's a Brother printer nonetheless, but it is connected by a USB cable. The device URI indicates that in the front end. I'll talk about this interface. So I'm going to do the most ungraceful thing in the world, and I'm going to actually delete that printer. Oh no. So basically, we're going to do and delete. And goodbye. So I'm going to set this up, but I'm not going to use the ad. I'm going to actually download a driver from the Brother website, and then I'm going to install it. Because a lot of times when you do the ad and you don't find your model number, or maybe you do install it and then you're trying to do a test print and it doesn't work, maybe it's a good idea to go check the manufacturer's website. And keep in mind, not all manufacturers have Linux drivers. But for the ones that do, I'm going to show you that in this particular instance, there's 2 different types of drivers and 2 different versions. All right. So let's look at some information online. So we know a little bit about MX, I hope. And if you are fairly new to MX, welcome. But I'm going to give you some information on DistroWatch. Not the popularity factor. I don't even use that, as a matter of fact. I wanted to just let you be aware that what it's based on. It's based off of Debian. Okay, so MX is based off of Debian. Now I'm going to go to the Brother website to let you see what this printer looks like. Now I have lots of videos to show you what I'm about to do here, which is enlarge the innards of a web page. Okay, so you can go watch those videos. I'm really not going to get into the details of how I'm doing this as far as enlarging text, but some of you folks already know, especially subscribers. This is what this thing looks like, and I know it's a little blurry, but there's a roll in here underneath this semi-transparent cover. So this roll is fed out as and the printhead is printing the stuff out, and then it cuts. That's how that thing works. And it can come in various widths, and the one I have in there is a small one. All right, let's discuss drivers, printer drivers. If you get nothing out of this video, at least you'll understand why you would want to pick one or the other. And also possibly, after we get going, another selection. All right, so we have Windows, Mac, and Linux. Obviously, we're dealing with Linux today. So I have the next option before I hit OK. Which is it? Linux Deb or Linux RPM? No, it doesn't stand for rounds per minute. But it's a nice, humorous thing. Red Hat Package Management, and this is not Debbie. This is Debian. All right, so as I told you earlier, MX is Debian based, so we want that. How to identify your OS? If you were to click that on Brother's website, I believe it just identifies mostly the Microsoft and Mac. So that's why this will help you out a little bit if you're trying to install your own drivers. So you want the Debian based drivers, and then I'm going to hit OK. Now that I have this page open, I have some more selections for you. So I have the LPR driver, which is Debian based package, and I have a CUPS wrapper printer driver, Debian based. All right, what's CUPS stands for? Besides cups of coffee or tea. Common Unix Printer System. Again, Linux is, well, it's similar to Unix, or very similar to also Mac. Mac also is very close to Unix also. Microsoft not so much. All right, in this case, I'm going to be using the CUPS wrapper printer driver. On a previous video that I did, I was using the LPR driver. They were also Debian based. And then I'm going to also talk about this one right here. These are templates for Linux Office applications, and I'll talk about that. LibreOffice to be specific. Okay, so I would just click that and accept the EULA and click that, and it starts the download. So I'm not going to spare you that pain. I will open up a file manager because I've already downloaded the file. All right, would you like me to make this bigger? I'll make it bigger on the fly. That's a little too big. All right, all these little tips and tricks I have videos on. But more importantly, what you're looking for is after you download this, I know I have 2 files here, is the QL570 CUPS wrapper .dep. That's the file that I need to install that driver. This file here is, hopefully I did close that, didn't I? Yeah. That file there is this one right here. It's the templates, and I'll talk about that also a little bit later. All right, with that said, hopefully that icon is big enough for you. I'm going to double click on it. I'm just going to follow the directions. You don't have to put in any codes or anything else. So if you're fairly new to Linux in general, it's pretty easy to use. Install. And then just put in your password. Now I know a lot of people go, well, it opened up terminal. Don't worry about it. That's just how it processes things. Okay, put in your password, allow it to do its thing. So right now it's starting up the Xfce, which is the Common Unix Printing System. And when it gets finished, it'll say press any key to close. That's pretty simple. Done. Now let's go look at it. I'll just go through here, or let's do PRI. How's that? And enter. It's just a simpler way. If you don't mind, I'm going to close these because it's a very busy screen. All right, it's back online. So let me give you the information regarding this box. Starting at the top. So that's the system config tool. Again, Xfce stands for Common Unix Printing System. We have the troubleshoot, the view, discovered printers, you probably want that. And then if any of these are highlighted, these will be populated. In other words, you can click on them. However, since they're grayed out, I need to click on one of these. Okay, so I'll click on that one. So I can click properties here, or I can double click. It's the same thing. We have duplicate, we have rename, and we have delete. In case your driver didn't work, you may want to, well, delete it and reinstall. You probably want it enabled if you're wanting to print. So shared, that's your choice. Set as default would also be another choice. And the last item is view print queue. So as you're printing and something's not working right, you may want to check the queue. What's going on with that print job? I'm going to resize this box also. It's got some sort of status message. Some of the examples would be maybe paper jam, low on toner, inkjet, or laser cartridge. Maybe the cable is partly loose. There's a myriad of things. So I'll close that box. So we have also the Xfce server, a Common Unix Printing System server, and most people don't mess with that. And settings. And some more advanced settings. These are, you don't have to mess with these, but you can just read through those if you want to make some changes. So we have new printer. We also have new printer here. So on that QL570, you notice that says USB on it. On the Brother, on the other hand, if I click network, it'll say driverless IPP. It's an auto-discovered printer. And you'll sometimes see two of these. More importantly, I'll talk about the performances you get out of these two, and discussing basically how it, not how it prints, but the length of time it takes to print. But before I do that, I want to walk through the actual box itself. Starting at the top, we have settings, the name of this thing, and the front end of the URI will tell you USB. That's fairly self-explanatory. Make and model, and then of course the printer state. Anytime you install a brand new printer, I don't care if you go through the add manually or you do it with a driver such as I did, do a print test. And I will just ask you to listen to I can't show it to you because I don't have a second camera, but you can hear it printing. And cutting. So that little noise that you just heard was it was printing and cutting. So it just produced a little, I guess if you call it self-test. Yeah. All right. So policies, access control, printer options. Now this one is kind of important to me when I do this label printer because I have rolls of different paper that can go in there. And it's very important that I have that set correctly. Okay, it auto found that. But more importantly, a lot of printers don't. And let's say you click that and you don't find the roll that you're looking for. You may want to, and you installed the driver manually, you may want to look at the manufacturer's website and see if they have a Linux driver. And let's cross your fingers that your printer is Linux friendly, let's put it that way. But that's the current size of let me enlarge that. That's the current size of my labels. They're in millimeters and also inches. Okay? So there are some options in here is what I'm getting at. Job options and ink and toner levels. Some of them are not reported and some of them are. And sometimes when it says this, it actually does. This one does. I can tell you that because I'll get the, here, let me walk over to this one. So here's the printer options on this one. Now you can see that they're generally letter size, legal size, or you know, other different types, even envelopes. Color or not color. Monochrome is black and white. Two-sided on or off. You get the idea. Now this one says the marker levels are not reported for this printer. However, on a different Linux distribution, because I told you I can print to this from just about anything, on that particular distribution I ran out low on yellow, and I got a post-it note that says my yellow was, well, getting low. So I don't really pay attention to this part of it. It says it doesn't report status, but I've seen a post-it note before. In either case, that's a good thing. All right. So default or not, again, this has a check mark, so that's grayed out. If I wanted to make that one default, I'd just click that and say OK, and now that one is default. Now where that comes in handy is when you're doing your, let's say you're opening up LibreOffice Writer, for instance, and you typed out a document. I'll just type in the word test, and I'll enlarge that for you. So you normally would go to the File menu and hit Print. So Control P is a very common shortcut, not only in Linux, but also in Microsoft Windows. On a Mac system, it's kind of, it's that Mac key that has those 4 squiggly things with the P on it. Yeah, that's the exact scientific definition, the squiggly thing. Just a little humor there, folks. Anyways, it's a very similar process on a Mac. All right, so let's do a Control P. So I defaulted to the QL70. Can I still print with the other one? Absolutely, I just switched that over. That's all I need to do. You can also print to a file. But let's say you are the type that wanted to have your default printer come up right away. Well, first of all, I'm going to discard this, and I'm going to change this back over to default. Now I got the check mark on this guy, and I will open up. Actually, let me talk about this file first. And to go to the downloads folder, and I will uncompress this thing. I'm just going to let you see what that extra file that I downloaded from the brother website looks like. These are templates for those label printer, not this printer, but the QL570. And they're different size. And they're in ODS, ODT format. All right, now I'll open up the other one, so you can see what I'm talking about. So LibreOffice, again, very common with a lot of Linux distributions. And when you save your files, it normally defaults to ODT or OTT. There's other formats like Microsoft also. But there are templates that you can use in here. Okay, so now I'm going to type the word test again and do a Control P. And now I defaulted to my 3170 CDW laser printer. And I can make the particulars in here. So that little blurb, if you can see that, that's part of this. Okay. You have some other options in here. But in general, this is your print box. So I am going to close that and not save it. All right, so let's talk about expectations from printers. So this one here, we can hit the properties and we can see the front end of this URI is USB. And the front of this one says that. It's networked, in other words. So what's the expectation of print? So whether you're in a web browser, you're hitting print, or in a like a office suite that you're trying to print from, the expectation is this will print faster. Why is that? Because it has a physical cable from your local machine that's physically connected to the printer. So that information goes fairly quickly. Since this printer is not physically connected to this machine and it's somewhere out on my network, it could be next to the machine or it could be in the next room, but it's on my network nonetheless. So how these things work, if you're fairly new to that process, your operating system, when you hit print on a network printer, it goes and finds your router. And in my case, this is a wireless printer. So it goes over to my wireless router and says, I'm requesting that this printer print. So that router is now going to contact the printer to say, number one, are you there? Yes. I have a job for you to print. Here is the data. All that stuff takes time. So by the time the signals are sent from your computer over to the router, over to the printer, could be as long as 10 seconds by the time it takes and transmits the data. It could be longer if your network is busy. Let's say you're working on a home network that your family is streaming movies, for instance, on the same network. And your router is kind of not up to par. It's being taxed pretty heavily. And that could be, a printing process could be up to maybe 40 seconds. But it'll more likely print nonetheless. It's just a matter of time. So USB-based printers normally print faster initially, the initial starting of the printing. A lot of these printers are quite fast once it receives the documents or whatever you're printing. All right, just wanted to point that out. On my network, if I sit on my couch potato and hit print on my iPhone, this printer kicks in within 10 seconds and starts printing. All right, so now I gave you an example of how to install a printer driver for this QL570. And again, one of my reasons that I use Brother printers, they just work. And more importantly, they're low on resources when it comes to RAM. They're also very easy to configure, and I haven't found a printer that I've bought over the years, and I have another Brother printer that I haven't found a Linux driver for on Brother's website. That's why I use Brother products. But I understand a lot of people use different printers. Let's just hope your manufacturer of printer has Linux drivers. So there you have it. So there's your printer interface, and more importantly, how to install a printer driver. Thank you for watching.